we're putting men in some pretty impossible boxes.
Like what?
Like you're not allowed to express your anger, but we expect you to shoulder certain things. We expect you to take responsibility for certain things without then taking our own cultural responsibility for saying, well, you know, he's a man's man. What does that mean? You know, like sometimes that's used as like, he may be a bit of an alcoholic, violent piece of shit, but he sure is fun. What? Do you know what I mean? Like, we all know he goes home and scares the shit out of his wife. We don't do anything. You know, like, that's problematic. But then, you know, similarly to like what we were talking about before with like a woman who has been so subjugated her whole life that she ends up lashing out and falsely accusing somebody. Like, what are we doing to masculinity, you know?
So when you talk about like what like as far as like gender roles or whatever, like how do you feel about it? Do you believe that there's such a thing? Like, do you believe that they're like?
I think we've created it. I think we've created it.
And but you don't think that there's like a natural falling into gender roles?
What's natural in this culture anymore?
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so we're so far away from it. I mean, certainly, like, I can look at any number of indigenous cultures whose land I've lived on and that I've kind of studied a little bit, and like, there are men who do women's work. There are women who do men's work. Sure. There are women who are responsible for the protection of the culture. There's this incredible book called Sand Talk by Tyson Yunkaporta. He's Aboriginal from Australia. And it's a mind blower of a book. But talks about men's business and women's business and, you know, the ways in which that completely subverts the traditional Western gender roles, but also makes space for the people who exist in the in-between place, you know, people who might be considered trans or queer or gender fluid or whatever, you know, but there's space for that.
You know, we had my friend Kevin Vance on here who talked about masculinity and like the way, like, you know, the samurai and like the way of the warrior and that, you know, yes, like you needed to
sacrifice, renunciation, focus.
Yeah, calligraphy.
Devotion.
You know what I mean? Like learning how to dance, like
something for your soul.
Yeah, and like having your sort of like this perfect combination of the masculine and feminine, finding balance between it, and that's
it. It's that in this culture, masculinity is defined by the abnegation of femininity and the erasure of femininity inside yourself, which is fucking nuts.
Well, there's like a latent, I guess, misogyny to it. Like, that's weak, that's woman-like, that's bitch-made.
Don't be a
right?
pussy.
Don't exactly right. So I guess what I'm asking with you, but then you also, I bet you. I mean, we had a conversation about it last night, but like, when you look at like this industry that we're in and the bulk of the men that are in it, you know, I was talking to you about something where I was having a disagreement with somebody, and I was like, well, no, a real man doesn't act like that. A man doesn't act like that. A man wouldn't do that. How do you feel about it? I mean, and as somebody who's like also just like married to somebody who's like but pretty masculine dude. I mean, like
super masculine dude, but also somebody who can turn to me and go, I need to fall apart. Because I'm hurting and I'm grieving and
also is completely open to all kinds of people, all different, you know,
1,000%.
like is completely open, in touch with his emotions, but like leads with kindness and empathy, but is completely fucking capable of defending his family, of defending,
super capable, but also capable of stepping back when it's time to step back.
So what is it that when you like, because I know you too, you also, you know, see certain, you know, like the LA guy, whatever the fuck it is, and I think you're like, it's not a man, like whatever. Like, well, what are they lacking? What is that?
When it's somebody who's putting on the trappings of a certain kind of masculinity without being able to occupy it, I just don't have respect for it because it's a lie, and it's a lie to try and gain status without doing any of the actual work. I don't particularly like. I've got all kinds of really close male friends in my life who don't adhere to the same kind of masculinity that defines you or Sean or whatever.
Right.
But they are who they are.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Right. And whether that's I'm a poet or, you know, I'm any number of things, but to me, it has to do with owning who you are and sitting in your own skin. And the scariest thing in the world, like being alone with your own head in the dark, alone, going, I'm going to get right with this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Which is, I think, what a lot of cultures used to have when it comes to masculinity. Do you know what I mean? Like, you hit 14, you hit 15, you reckon with yourself. You figure out who the fuck you are. And then culture puts you in a place where you can be that person.
Yeah, yeah.
And if that person is, I write music and I make baskets and I sit with the women, then God bless you, we are behind you.
Yep.
If that person is, I've got the weapons on my back and I am the first one into the field, great, we need that too. But we value both of them. Mm-hmm. I think what happens too often is that guys go, our culture values that, so I'm going to put on that costume and try and fool everybody.
No, yeah.
And I'm going to be the one that swells on people. You know, I'm going to fuck him up. And you're like, you're not though.
Probably not. Yeah.
You're not. You know what I mean? And so I don't have any respect for you. If you're the person you are, you know what I mean? Like, if you can just be that, that's great. There's not one way to be a guy. But to me, I think we do a real disservice when it comes to masculinity because we say to men simultaneously, we hold up a kind of Punisher thing of like, you've got to be strong, you've got to defend your people, you've got to be uncompromising, you've got to be loyal, but we're not going to have loyalty to you because when you serve and then you come back with PTSD, we may or may not actually treat you and you may end up homeless. Or we teach you that aggression is super important to defend the people around you and then don't give you the tools to deal with that aggression in other parts of your life. Like, you know, my husband studied with this guy, Vlad Vasilyev in Toronto, who came from Russian special forces and taught Sistema, which is like a kind of martial art out there. And Vlad was like, we don't have PTSD in the Russian army because it's intertwined with the church. Now, I'm not saying this is necessarily the way to go, but like, he's like, if I take a life, there's a whole protocol for me to go through with my God to make that right. He's like, I don't understand what you guys do. You tell young men to shoot somebody and then you just walk away? Like, how could they be people and not be destroyed by that? And I think that's really interesting. I'm not saying that the Russian army is the way to go, and obviously bringing up the Russian army at all is like super complicated, but there are systems in many cultures that help men navigate the fucking madness that is testosterone and challenge that into things that are creative and collaborative and generative.